If I were starting over now online at 75, maybe even at 50, certainly at 60, here's what I'd do now. You see, I've been thinking about this a lot because one of the things with doing these videos, and I'm going to let you know that we're doing some road work out behind our property, so you may hear some clanging and banging, but that's part of real life. And speaking of real life, that's what I would have introduced more into how I was messaging, how I was showing up, how I have always been online for 21 years. I think I felt like I had to be as perfect as possible, not looks or anything like that, but just the messaging, the results, all of those things. And I wasn't pretending, but I realized for how many years it felt more performative, more like I had to be a certain way to be okay online. And that I was really, I was performing other people's success some of that time. Not that I didn't actually have that or provide that or have experienced that for myself and with my clients, but how I was showing up. What was I supposed to be doing? How was I supposed to be? And what I would change now, what I regret, is not getting this figured out way sooner. Because you know what? It's kind of challenging now to make that shift and to say, look, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, you know, there might be some people that watch this that have been where I'm at for 20 some years or have seen me online or in person that might go, oh, really? You know? And that's been kind of, honestly, that's been a little bit of a burden for me. But then I kind of go, well, I'm 75, okay? So if not now, when? When am I going to show up that way? Never? Ever? And so here I am on this journey with you because I'm still learning. I'm still growing and shifting and pivoting and changing and creating also. And so I want to just cover a couple of points of what I would do differently now at 75. And how where I am with helping people. I've been getting such amazing comments on, especially on the last video I did. And you know, I think one of the ones that meant the most to me was someone who said, I'm turning 30. And I found inspiration and it uplifted me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if I can be that for someone behind me, someone way behind me who's just turning 30, it's kind of like being a grandparent in the best possible way, letting my wisdom, letting my accumulated nuts and bolts and wounds and grievances and sadness and loss and all of those and mistakes, plenty of those, pave the way, help pave the way for someone else. Help short circuit that for someone else. I didn't have anyone I could talk to at that age. Nobody. And I made so many mistakes and I had so many broken beliefs. I'm not going to say I was broken, but my beliefs in myself were broken. And a lot of times that comes from other people, what you've grown up hearing, what's been stuffed into your brain, what you start taking as they must be right. There must be something wrong with me or I was made fun of, you know, all of these things in my family, in the place that you're supposed to be nurtured and cared for, right? So I don't want to veer too far off track here, but if this message touches even one younger person, how amazing that is, how beautiful that is. So as I've mentioned before, I didn't start online till I was in my 50s, and I really had no clue. I didn't know what I was doing. I just had a belief in my ability to create this thing for myself, which worked out. But let me cover at least 3 points today of what I would do differently. First of all, when you start showing up online, what I would not try to do anymore is be everywhere at once. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was like be omnipresent, show up on all the platforms, have multiple posts every day on all the platforms, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook. What am I leaving out? Right here on YouTube, you know, and anywhere else that people have found to show up. And even though I didn't have a real connection to some of the platforms, I tried to be everywhere. And it was so exhausting, okay, to be, okay, well, I got to post it here, and I got to post it there, and I got to do this. And then there was also of a lot of noise about you can't have duplicate content. It has to be all different in every place you show up. That's changed a lot over the years. But just not trying to be everywhere. And that includes not trying to be everything for everybody, because you're not going to be. And if you can understand that right from the beginning, that it's not a personal affront to you or anything like that. If there's some people probably watching me right now that say, you know, okay, not for me, moving on, okay. And really being all right with that, because you're not going to be for everybody. You shouldn't be for everybody, because that means you're not really being true for yourself. If you're being true for yourself, then there is a certain aspect of the world, of the people that you come in contact with, that are going to gravitate towards you, and there's some that are just going to be, I don't even see you, or they're going to just move right on. That's okay. So I want you to understand you don't have to be everywhere anymore. This is something I would not, and I'm not trying to do anymore. Again, that's part of the performance, you know, of just feeling like, it's not pretending, but it is performative, and you just don't need to do that. The second point I'd make is, and that I would do differently now at 75. I am doing differently now at 75, but I wish I'd done differently then, is not outsourcing my own instincts, not outsourcing my own guidance system, my own wisdom, that everybody else must know better than me kind of thing. You know, you spend a lot of time, I spent a lot of time watching other people's examples, watching what they were doing online, going to other kinds of trainings, buying other kinds of trainings, being in a million different kinds of webinars. Now, I believe in ongoing education. I believe in investing in yourself and learning. But when you're just everywhere, again, trying to be everywhere at once and trying to gather in all these ideas of which one will work for me, which one will work for me, pretty soon you're just in a soup of indecision, of a lack of clarity, of confusion, of potential confusion in how you're messaging or what you're saying to anyone. And because you're not really trusting your own instincts, your own guidance system that says, you know, I really don't like this, or this one's not for me, or, you know, I don't want to have to force myself to show up in this way. I don't like it, you know? And what you end up feeling like is that you're just not doing enough. It's never enough. And I had many days at the end of the day where I would say to my husband, Ron, no matter what I do, it's just never enough. And I wasn't talking about our relationship or anything like that. I was talking about my relationship with myself and how I was showing up online. So not outsourcing your own instincts, trusting that, because the more you can connect to that inner guidance, and you have it. You may not think you do, or you may not trust it right now, but you have it. And the more you can hone that skill, and it is a skill, the more you develop that trust, the more you just be at peace with who you actually are, the better it's going to be for you. The more longevity you'll have online, the more scalability you'll have simply of your own energy, your own essence, because you're just showing up true to yourself. So that was my second point that I've been thinking about a lot. And the third one was finding that way to be able to show up with, again, not outsourcing every aspect of that to somebody else. I don't know. I haven't sat down and added it up, probably because I don't really want to know specifics. But I worked with at least 6 different ad agencies for ads, okay? And I never did feel like, oh my gosh, I could learn this myself. It was so complicated. I think at the very, very beginning, I did use some Google ads, and I did figure that out for myself. But I didn't have this like earth-shattering budget either. And at the beginning, 20 years ago, that worked for me. But over the years, I started, again, outsourcing my own wisdom to someone else to put into the form of ads. And I'm not saying ads don't work, but I would say conservatively, I probably, I want to say invested, but I'm not quite sure that's the right word, because if you have a positive investment, a lot of times that's because you've made money from it. And I think at the beginning I did, but I would say at least $500,000 over the years. I had many, many years where the monthly budgets were $30,000 and $40,000 a month for ads, Facebook ads specifically. And at first they worked, and I was getting a good return on that. But then eventually it was like, well, this is a loss leader, and we do this first to get some attention, and then this happens. And I completely lost track of the fact that I was putting so much money into the ads, and I was making money, but was I making a profit? And this is the other thing you often hear, people saying, I made all this money, we had this huge thing, but they don't tell you what the bottom line is. After all the expenses, what's left? Okay? And there's people that have practically done themselves in financially because they wanted to win a specific award from a certain community that if you made $1 million in a year from this one specific platform, you got an award at their annual event. And there were people that were putting $900,000 into getting the, quote, $1 million track record so that they could get the award. And if they were lucky, they were left with $100,000 revenue for the entire year, if they were lucky. And so just finding a better way, discovering a better way to be seen, to be heard, to show up in a way that feels right for you. And so now, I will say when I started 20 years ago, some of those ads worked very, very well for me, very well for me. But over time, things change, and things have changed yet again, just even in the last couple of years, with the advent of AI, for example. And so if you're sitting somewhere feeling like, I'm ready to throw in the towel, I'm trying to do this online thing, and I want to show up for people, but I'm just feeling like nothing's working, or it's too hard, or I'm exhausting myself. And I'm going to be completely open with you about this. Over the last few years, I've been exhausting myself in a lot of ways. And just because nothing was quite resonating. And so then you start to feel like, well, I might as well give up. I might as well just give up because nothing's going to work, or I'm just getting tired, And so what I'm going to say at this point of life, at 75, is that it is okay to realize that there might be a better way now. I also want to make sure that if you're just getting started online and you're already past 50 or in your 60s, it is definitely not too late, because the really great news now is there are ways for you to show up online and get connected to the right people. And when I say the right people, I mean for you, for what it is you want to talk about, for what it is you want to bring forth, for what you'd love to spend your time talking about. That maybe has nothing to do with what you did in a professional life. Maybe it has everything to do what you've done for the last many decades. Maybe it's something that you're just discovering, or you just want to reach out and be able to be like a community of one for somebody by connecting, by giving something outwardly that somebody else can connect to. Because there's a lot of lonely people. There's a lot of loneliness in the world now. And with the online world, there's a lot you can't believe. There's a lot you can't trust. There's complete channels here that aren't even real people. This kind of takes me towards something that could become a little bit of a rant, because there's people out there that are like, look what I did. None of it is real. And I don't mean making an AI clone of yourself. Not even that. There's people doing that and being open about it. I've had a little bit of that I've done too, kind of fun. It's still me, but this way. But there's people making one that are completely artificial, not anyone real, and using AI to do all the messaging and all the teaching. That's not real either. And you know what that is? I call that hit and run marketing. That's just how much money can I make? How fast can I make it? I'm going to go for it. And then as soon as that burns out, I'll do something else. And it's like this chameleon-like personality that doesn't really stand behind anything, doesn't really stand for anything except how much money can I make and how fast can I make it, right? And so don't do that. This is very recent. This isn't something that I did, but it's something that's happening now. And so let's do a little forecast forward of don't do that. Show up as yourself. And it's freeing to be able to do that, because you might have something that you just want to talk about, that you just think would be fun. And you're not done yet. You still have something more you want to give, some more people you'd like to affect in a positive way, something you want to bring into the world, something maybe that's always been there right behind the scenes and you just haven't known how to start bringing that forward, how to start activating it, articulating it, celebrating it, all of those things. And so the good news about all this now, going forward is that AI can help you to do this. And it can help you be found. It can help you be heard. And it can do it in a way that is simple and steady and reliable and trustworthy and does not depend on speed and hustle and bro marketing of, all the things that so many of us have been turned off by over the years. And that you can become visible, meaningful, helpful so much faster and easier now. And I don't mean faster in the sense that you have to hurry. I mean it in the sense that there can be a system that works to support you in a much easier way than you ever thought possible. And this is what I'm super excited about. Because the thing as you go forward, I guess there's one more thing I'd say that I wish I'd done sooner, and that is create my own pathway. Instead of, I worked for clients, I've done amazing things for clients, quite frankly, that had really changed their business and their life. And that was a gift, it was an honor, it was fun a lot of the time, not all the time. Remember, we're going to be really honest about all of this. There were some clients that were a real pain in the petunias, so to speak. But for the most part, has been a tremendous blessing in my life, absolutely. But I would have started, what I regret, what I would do differently now is start your own message sooner so that you're not just making someone else's money for them, and yeah, you get paid for it, but they have an asset that can grow for years making them money. That's what I did as a copywriter. There were sites that were selling something that sold for decades, literally decades, from something I wrote one time and got paid for one time. And they just continued to make money. And so you get to the point where, why am I not doing some of this for myself? You know that story of the shoemaker's son, I guess it is, where their own kids don't have shoes because they're so busy repairing for everybody else. And that can happen with this. And that's something that I regret. I wish I'd done this differently. I wish I'd started way sooner. I saw people that I trained in copywriting and marketing surpassing me because they were creating their own stuff with the messaging and the understanding of marketing that they got from me. And I'd see them, whew, there they go, and I'm still back here, And so that was kind of hard to see that. Happy for them, excited that what I had taught them was working so beautifully, but also then, well, why the heck am I not doing that for myself? So that would be another thing I wish I'd done differently. If I were starting over now, I would start getting the word out on what you have. Now listen, what is it that you love to talk about? What is that thing that's just kind of like that little mosquito in your ear of just, you ought to do something with this? Or maybe it's something everybody else has said, why aren't you doing something with this? Or maybe it's something people often come to you and say, can you help me with this? How do I do fill in the blank? What would you do if fill in the blank? How did you manage to fill in the blank? And there's the big trucks working out there. You can hear them honking. Must be somebody trying to walk in the trail when they've closed it. I don't know. It's usually super quiet here. Anyway, if you have a thing like that, that might be the thing. That might be the thing. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments. But if you're over 50, if you feel that little nudge, if you feel that little, I think I would like to do something, but I'm not quite sure how to get there. How will anybody even know? I was working with a client recently, and I said, so when you do this thing, and they're brand new to the thing, when you do this thing, how are you going to get people to this event that you've got in mind? And they were like, well, I don't know, I'll run ads. And I was just like, oh, no, don't do that. Especially if you're just getting started. Don't do that. There's too many tricky things about that. But if it's something that you would like some help with, if you'd like to be able to clarify, okay, what would this even look like? I don't know. I feel like there's something I want to do. I don't even know what it would look like. I am doing a 5-day live challenge. And it's where we're going to start building that simpler, true version of who you actually are and bring it out into the world. How would you do that? If you'd love some help with that, I'll put a link down below. I am definitely determined in the sense of, I don't care if it's 1, 5, 10 people, whatever. I want to share this because if I could go back and start over again, I would be doing all these things I've just discussed with you. But what wasn't there until now is this way that you can become findable. You can step out of the shadows, not be disappearing, and with confidence at your own pace and in your own way, true to you, move forward to be seen and heard and found. So I thank you for sharing this time with me today. I've been really gratified by the comments and the reaction I got from my last greenhouse gazebo messaging. This is just on the corner of our property, and it is an absolute gorgeous day here in Tucson. This is what winter looks like here. It's about 80 degrees. And the little hummingbird I spoke of, I don't think she's flying around too much today, but her little nest is getting bigger back there. So maybe at one point I'll be able to share a photo of, if you've ever seen a hummingbird nest, they're really only about this big around, and when they lay an egg, it's probably about the size of my little fingernail, like a jelly belly, those tiny little jelly beans, about that size. Really sweet. Thanks for being here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon, because I got a lot more to share about what life looks like from 75, both backwards and current and forwards, because you know what? We're here because we're not done yet. And it's never too late. So until next time, this is Tina Lorenz. Thanks for being here, and I will be talking to you again soon. Bye for now.